Hello, hello. Let's start taking our seats so we can get started, folks. Hey. Hello, hello, everyone. I'm Stephanie Bergman Birmingham from Sedgwick County Strategic Communications, and I'd like to welcome you to our Tri-Governmental Town Hall. We are so glad to have you here. Thanks for coming out tonight, first of all. How about this room, huh? Thanks to WSU Tech, this is a great setup. Love this. This is actually our third in a series of meetings designed to really engage you, our citizens, with your city, county, and school board leaders. And the goal is really to discuss together how we can work and collaborate to improve our community. And really, we want to hear from you. We want this to be a great give and take. We want to share ideas and feedback to come up with tangible projects, concrete ways that we can collaborate to better serve the people of Sedgwick County. So again, thank you for participating tonight. The way this is going to work, we're going to get the conversation going tonight by breaking into small groups, brainstorming some ideas, and then coming back together to share those ideas. Before we get started though, one bit of housekeeping. If you need to use the restrooms, right out this door, through the double doors at the end of the hall and on the right. So at any time if you need to get up and leave, that's where you'll need to head. Now, let's meet our elected officials up here. Sorry guys, but the bathrooms upstaged you. Had to get that out of the way first. At our first table, we have Sedgwick County Commission Chair Ryan Beatty. We have Wichita Mayor Lily Wu, and we have School Board President Diane Albert. Would each of you like to say a few words to get us going?
Yeah, welcome tonight. We're so grateful. The heart of a town hall really is engagement. It's about, talking about ideas, hearing feedback from the people that are in the room, and engaging with the people that you've elected to serve in these interests. So that's really the heart. As Stephanie said, this is the third that we've done this. And I think tonight is really the opportunity, as we've had themes that have emerged in these tri-government conversations, is what are your thoughts? And we want to hear from you on these themes. I might take an executive function here. Instead of the small groups, would it be okay just to do an open town hall? Would you be okay with that? So instead of the idea, let me just preface, I'm taking a little point of privilege here. But the idea was if we had 19 electeds, having a town hall engagement conversation with 19 elected politicians sometimes can get a little dangerous and it might get a little cumbersome and difficult. So the idea was we were going to break out into 4 groups and have a commissioner, a city council member, and a school board person in these so you can actually engage. But I'm kind of feeling the vibe in the room that it might just be best just to open up the mic and have conversations. So if you're good with that, we're good with that. You guys good with that? Okay, so welcome here tonight. We're gonna have a really good conversation and we're really eager to hear your feedback. So thank you for being here.
Well, let's start off by saying thank you to Sedgwick County. Thank you for hosting us here at WSU Tech NCAT. For those who have never been to this campus, this is truly one of Wichita's gems, and I am so grateful that Sedgwick County has invested in this National Center for Aviation Training, because that is what puts Wichita on the map. And I really believe that we need to shout from the rooftops who we are, because I can tell you, having visited multiple cities throughout my tenure so far, people want our people, and people want our jobs. And so we have to be proud of where we come from, and I really believe we've got a great city. Do we have challenges? Absolutely. What city doesn't have challenges? But I think when we come together and figure out how we can work together to solve major problems or challenges, that's how we can actually get ahead. And so I'm so grateful to my friend, Chairman Beatty, and my friend, School Board President Diane Albert. The three of us are the 3 electeds who have this opportunity to lead our respective bodies. And when I gave them an idea back in March of this year, right after my State of the City address, I said I wanted to make sure that we have greater collaboration between city, county, and USD 259. The first thing that happened was having a town hall in June of this year. And we had a different style of town hall thanks to the Kansas Leadership Center. They truly are one of the premier leadership institutions, and I am so grateful that they wanted to try something new. However, I can see that you all want your traditional town hall, and so I'm glad that we're gonna go back to this format. And then right after that June town hall, in July, we came together again, but this time all 3 elected bodies came together at Kansas Leadership Center, and we started talking about ways to collaborate. And I'm so grateful again to my colleagues and our friends over at the commission and school board for making sure that we could all gather together. And I want to say thank you to the staff, both at the city, county, and USD 259 for continuing to be part of this process with us electeds, because we want to hear from you. And we really believe that the best way forward is when we do it together. So again, thank you for participating, and I'm looking forward to today's town hall.
Thank you. Thank you to the chairman. Thank you to the mayor. I echo their statements and want to say welcome. And as we continue to have our conversation around shared services, one of the things for the Wichita Public School District is our shared service is really people. Because all three of us over here, and along with a lot of our other counterparts, are products of the Wichita Public School System. So when we say we have future leaders that are currently in our classrooms, this is a representation of what that looks like in the future. And so it's imperative that we look through Wichita Public Schools with that lens of these are our future leaders of our communities, and why it's so important for the Wichita Public Schools to provide a good quality education and be that premier district of choice in our area. So with that, I think we'll turn the mics over to our audience.
All right, thank you so much. And let's introduce the other elected officials we have up here. From the Sedgwick County Commission, we have Jeff Blubaugh, Stephanie Wise, Jim Howell, and our Chair Pro Tem, Pete Meitzner. From the City Council, we have Dalton Glasscock. We have from the School Board, Kathy Bond. We have Hazel Stabler, and we have Knock Bond. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, old eyes from here. Do we have any elected officials in the audience? I don't want to miss anyone. Oh, I did say Knock Vong, sorry. Thank you for coming. I know we have the superintendent here. We have the city manager, Bob Layton, in the back. Again, thank you all for coming. Sheriff Easter, yes. Tom Stolz, county manager. These are my bosses, too. I got to get them. You're looking especially dapper tonight, by the way. Have you lost weight? Yeah. All right. Well, as we said, we are going to move into just an open mic situation, but let me give you a little recap. If you missed any of the other meetings leading up to this, as Mayor Wu mentioned, the first town hall was in June. We met with the city of Wichita, the county, and the school board, really talking about opportunities to collaborate. Then in July, we had another meeting, and some of the themes that came forward as key areas of collaboration: the Future Ready Centers and workforce, that might be a good place to start. Shared administrative services, crime prevention, family and community well-being, and really a part of that, mental health. So at this point, I would just like to open the mics, and if anyone wants to come forward at this time and really start talking about any of those themes, otherwise I can toss out a question and we can get going that way. Please.
Oh, please, yeah, click.
Hello, okay. Faith Martin, I live in District 5 in the county, District 2 in the city, and you're my school board rep. I just want to correct one thing. I do not believe the Future Ready Center was discussed in the June meeting. That was brought up at the second meeting. But on the ideas that were generated for the document for the second meeting that was at KLC, I had an idea that 259, the city and the county, should work together. Big fan of Sedgwick County elections. I would like to see the public dollars that we invest in public schools and public buildings for city, county, and school board be used for election sites. And I was at a joint town hall meeting with the superintendent where there were other school districts, and it would be great to see all the school districts in Sedgwick County have an in-service day to collaborate, so that would be our voting locations, would be elementary schools and public buildings. I think that'd be a great way for all three to come together and for all of us to promote civic engagement to the little ones. And parents are already very familiar with the local schools. So I would really like to see some engagement on that idea.
There are conversations heading in that direction. Stay tuned.
Anyone else that would like to come forward?
Jenny Harris, I'm in District 1 for the county and District 1, and District 1 for 259. I would just like clarification, please. I appreciate everyone coming out and engaging in these conversations. I think a lot of us felt at the first meeting we were expecting something different than what happened. Then we go to the second meeting and we actually felt derailed. That the conversation went a completely different direction than was ever discussed at that first town hall. And now tonight, just to be honest, we're in the middle of campaign season, and suddenly there's short notice that this town hall gets pulled together. So a lot of people that I know, I took the night off from campaigning. There's other people here who are not campaigning, or who are out campaigning and are not here tonight, that were at that first meeting and want to be part of this conversation. So it became a very difficult decision weighing what we should do or not do. So I really just want to hear from all of you. What are you hoping to get out of this? What is the definition? I don't want to keep speaking into something and then we're going to have another meeting and it's not talking about anything that we talked about. So I would just really appreciate clarification so we know where you're desiring this conversation to go tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, and I know you're active in the district that I represent and us, but I just think what I've found in my years of service at the city and now at the county, there's a real misunderstanding about the role that the cities play in a community. The county is incredibly engaged in representing the area at the state level to try to change things to help with, community corrections, even recently, tag office, a lot of the things, maybe ambulance service. The county does a lot of things that are the building blocks, the bones of the community, where the cities really get stuff done that's more visible, more attractive. And recently, it's been a lot of fun for me to have Kelly and the school district engaged in things like Future Ready centers that needed the county and the city supports to engage these young. You've all heard this Future Ready Center term. It's incredibly successful. It's recent. It's great, but it shows where to me where the county plays its role in helping make the whole community better from a legislative, because we are a byproduct of all the 105 Kansas counties are certified by, we're an extension of the state government. So we're handcuffed, so to speak, or no offense, Sheriff, but we have to play our role, and we're understanding that well to deliver that. And the cities have great flexibility to be what they want to be. Park City's doing what they want to do fastly. Goddard's doing what they want to do. But the 259 and the school districts are a huge part, and I think we all are understanding better how the future of our kids is incredibly important, and giving them a roadmap. If you've heard Kelly speak, he does it a lot better than I do. Give them a chance. They didn't even expect to have a chance to have an opportunity to do things, and they're becoming productive instead of migrating into adulthood with no productivity. So I personally think that the community should understand better our roles, because I think they get blended, and so to answer your question, that's what I'm here to hear you all, but also to help explain just what I explained. So thank you.
From now on, if the people that get up to speak would also introduce themselves and where you live. Please, go ahead, sir.
One second.
I have,
Thank you. I'll respond to Jenny. Thank you very much for being here today, and also Faith, thank you for that idea. I'll start off with, when was the last time that you have actually seen, prior to 2025, city, county, and USD 259 try to come together to listen. So this is our good faith effort in an attempt to try to bring three separate bodies, we're very different, and trying to work while we're trying to have engagement. So our very first town hall in June, our attempt was really to have the three leaders of the three separate bodies just come out and listen. KLC, who took the initiative of being the MC/facilitator, thought that they would find it beneficial in trying their model. And their model is obviously not how we're doing it right now. They like small groups and have smaller sessions and then talk in a big group. And we realized from the feedback, people like traditional town halls. And so this really was a second attempt by the county to try to do the first thing, which was a town hall. We already had the city and county a date set for us to come together called an en banc. And so we were already going to come together. What we did was we invited USD 259 to come along. And so as you can see, things are moving pieces because this is our first attempt at really bringing three groups together, three elected bodies, three separate staffs together. And so I ask for your grace. I ask that you continue to help us figure out what is the best model to get truly that engagement. And again, the goal is we want to collaborate. These three separate bodies have, you can see their commitment in wanting to collaborate. And so we have done it before. We did it most recently with Park Elementary School, which is now Second Light. Chairman Beatty and I both serve on the Second Light board. And you can see that we're trying our very best efforts in collaborating more. And so I understand that Future Readies may be something new to a lot of you, but the city did make that investment during COVID-19 with federal aid in investing in Future Readies with USD 259, but it's also with the county. It is still a collaborative effort. They're at the table. Pete and I both serve on the WSU Tech board. And the three of us right here are proud products of Wichita Public Schools. And so, again, many of us who are graduates of USD 259. So I think that again shows to you we're trying our very best in doing these types of town halls and gaining more engagement as well as feedback from you, and we're trying to listen. And so give us a little bit of grace.
Thank you, Joni, for that question, and thank you, Mayor, for that response. Commissioner Meinstrom, the same. I would say, Joni, what do I hope to receive from this and what I hope this format is, we need more communication, not less. All the division, all the angst, everything happening in society, we need more communication, not less. So what I hope this can accomplish in many ways is bring awareness to the community of the challenges and opportunities. I think for the first time in the en banc, when Kelly Bielefeld shared that 82% of the kids in USD 259 live under the poverty level, that was the first time that many people in this community had heard that. And as we all know, the determinants that come from poverty, you have nutrition challenges, mental health challenges, you have literacy challenges, and these are our children. These are our kids. So I have an invested interest as an elected leader representing my district to make sure that our future parents, our future teachers, our future business leaders, our future electeds, that we are leveraging the resources we have at the county to make sure that we're preparing the next generation. That's just good stewardship. But we can't do that if we don't even bring 259 and other school districts into the room to have the conversation. Like they're in the room to have the conversation and look at how we leverage resources. Where is common ground? One of the things that did come up in that en banc was transit. It never crossed my mind. It's not something we do a lot at the county. But that was a conversation that took place in the en banc that now there's future and more conversations happening because of that discussion. I bet you didn't know that ComCare, the behavioral health clinic for Sedgwick County, and that is a Sedgwick County department, that we have a program called MHIT, Mental Health Intervention Teams, that we're in over 40 USD 259 schools. We're in the Derby School District, the Valley Center School District, the May School District. How do we leverage that asset to the mental and behavioral health of our children so that it doesn't have to come out of the pocketbook solely of USD 259? Like, it's MHIT, Mental Health Intervention Teams. So we have counselors and social workers that go into these schools. How do we leverage that asset? How do we do these things more collaborative to lean into each other to support not just our fellow electeds and not just that governing body and this governing body, but these children that is our future. That's why 259 is at the table. So what do I hope to get out of these things is understanding the opportunities, understanding the challenges, and understanding how we can leverage each other's resources to make sure that this community is thriving and healthy and growing in a way that's productive for all of us. So I also asked for grace because this has never happened before. You know what also is a challenge? Making sure there's upwards of 19 electeds. That's hard to have a conversation with 19 different electeds. So we try to be creative in some of these ways, but sometimes you just got to flip the mic on and have a discussion. So that's what I hope to get out of this, awareness of opportunities and more communication. So thank you for the question.
Okay, sir?
I have several issues that I wanted to bring up. One of those is funding for Second Life on the county's part. I received information that said the county had not assigned funding for it. I may be wrong. It may be in process. There are resource issues that get in the way, but that's one concern.
Would you like, I don't mind, and we can open up to other commissioners too on their thought process, but if we can stop at that one and address it. So Second Light is what was formerly called the Multi-Agency Center, the MAC. This is the big project that we're working to help those that are unhoused and homeless in our community. It is under construction right now. But the county's piece of this was we're trying to leverage ComCare in these conversations. So what we've done already is that we've funded positions through Mental Health America to where they're having 2 social workers that are on site right now today. What is coming is going to be an opportunity to invest dollars to renovate the mental and behavioral health space there. So I haven't been able to bring that to my colleagues yet, so you might be hearing this for the first time. But this is going to be an opportunity for the county to invest dollars into there to renovate the mental health space there, so that, because we all know that if we don't tackle the mental and behavioral health challenges of the homeless population, we don't stand a chance in reversing this dangerous trajectory. So there will be an opportunity for the county to do more there. It's under construction right now, but they're waiting right now. The Second Light Board is waiting for architectural plans and construction cost. And then there will be an opportunity for the county to have this discussion to see how we can impact that project more.
Sir, do you mind sharing your name?
Dr. Charles Gaynor.
Thank you.
My second one involves mental health, and I worked for ComCare for 37 and a half years.
Thank you.
And I was the last doctoral level psychologist employed. My position was not replaced. My concern, and because I was no longer there, we lost an internship program where we were involved with 4 other agencies for decades. Unfortunate. And also interns. I could not keep other psychologists on board. There was a terrific morale issue. And I would ask people, how do you feel about retirement? And they would say, I'm counting the days. And this was 100%. And then I read in the paper about case managers, you know, a huge number, like 100 or so vacancies at ComCare. And then also for the social workers above 100 vacancies or more. So my concern gets to be morale of the employees. And if you don't have a resilient agency, and I've worked under 5 directors, and it was always the same, and there was an element of fear among the employees, and it was authoritarian. That is my picture of it. And I hope the protection, the caring about the mental health of the mental health workers is perpetrated. I'm not trying to blame anybody.
No, understood. Let's pause there, and I want to share the opportunity with some of my colleagues. I'll get us started, and if you'd like to chime in, the question is about ComCare. It was just in 2021 that ComCare was down 200 full-time employees. And that's significant because we have a significant mental and behavioral health challenge in this community. Today, that number is closer to 90%. We've made some significant changes in compensation models and morale models. I don't know if you saw that we just broke ground on the new Crisis Intervention Center, $20 million project that'll be happening there. But what you're indicating is a challenge that's happening in all behavioral health and medical, and it's a workforce challenge. So I want to make 2 points as to how we build the workforce pipeline for future ComCare. Number one is that big old $300 million project that's happening in downtown Wichita right now, the biomedical school. That's part of the equation for developing the future workforce that we need. The second thing is reaching into our schools, and that's why I'm an advocate for these future-ready schools, so that we can have medical professionals starting to train in high school and get onto a trajectory of where they're going, so that we can enter them into this workforce. We need more. I would also say that we have a $100 million mental health hospital being built in South Wichita right now that's going to require 200 employees. So there's a drought in workforce. The ComCare piece of it, though, we went from down 200 full-time employees now to being upwards of 85 to 90% staffed. And a lot of that was compensation and morale, but it's something we were aware of, and it's something we corrected. So any other thoughts from my colleagues? There you go.
Before,
Doctor, thank you so very much for sharing about mental health. I know that that's not a sphere that the city directly works on. However, I will tell you that what I've seen with Future Ready when it comes to healthcare and getting these young people excited about a career in healthcare, whether it's mental health or any other of the healthcare career routes, it's working. It's getting these kiddos excited to be part of that ecosystem. And when they're seeing this investment in downtown with the biomedical campus and then the breaking ground of ComCare, something is happening right now that I hope that you can start feeling, and that is the excitement from our young people that there are opportunities here in our community because they can see some pipelines. Superintendent Bielefeld has always been an advocate of not just promoting our four-year universities, but promoting technical education, as well as this third option, that you can get employed immediately after graduating from high school. And those three routes should be celebrated. And I hope that, again, this collaboration with WSU Tech, they have a new mental health technician route, that will help, again, spur more interest in the field. And eventually, hopefully, some of these young people will choose to go that four-year route and beyond so that they can be able to learn from you to help take those positions here in our community.
before I get on to my third, I'd like to share a moment in my experience, which you kind of brought up by having the health workers, the mental health workers at the school. Years ago at the old Emerson, there was a tragic car accident and 3 students died. And one of those I happened to carpool to the school because my daughter was going to Emerson. ComCare sent in workers. I know there's at least 2 psychologists. There was me and the other one, and then I think a social worker. So I recognize how important that is. My third point has to do, I guess, with the bond issue. And that has to do with the idea that there was an outside consultant coming in at that point to negotiate what they thought was a good idea. The issue for me is getting information from staff, from teachers, from other staff who work there. And because if you just have somebody talking about statistics, you're not again talking about the active work of line workers and what they're contributing. And there's a lot of information that's out there that might be useful for the school board, for the school system. And I was also had thought when you mentioned the leadership training, I didn't know if they could be involved. Now, I talked to a person who I will remain anonymous, and her response was, we only go where we're invited and we don't go for free. But I know that the school system spent a lot of money bringing these consultants in and not having possibly a payoff that would benefit anybody, everybody. But that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, thank you for the question. And actually, I'm going to tee up our superintendent, Kelly, to help answer this. But as far as communicating some of the facility needs, one of the things that we've invested in recently, and it will go live here in a couple of weeks, is an online dashboard that will talk about each individual building that we have in our school district. So you can click on that, you can see the square footage, the acreage, a lot of the statistics about the building, but then also what are the needs in that building. Because we're trying to communicate clearer to our community the real needs. Because when you drive by some of the schools, they look fine, right? They're brick buildings, and it's like, well, what's going on in here? It looks like a great building. Why would you ever want to close that down or tear it down and rebuild it? But you get on the inside and you see boilers that are older than me. You see facilities that cannot keep consistent heating and cooling in there. You see roofs that are leaking. You see other things that we do a good job of cleaning them up, but they're not operating in the best capacity. And so we can do a better job of communicating that, and I hope that online dashboard will be one of those pieces to help clearly communicate what is going on in our buildings. One of the things that I know I'll be advocating for is more tours and more ways to get the community members inside of our facilities to actually see what's going on. Because when you enter into the building and you kind of look around, you sit in a classroom, and you're like, oh yeah, this room in here, it's kind of cold, it's February, I'm freezing, I've still got my coat on, and it's really small. So it would be hard to have a classroom doing different activities in this room. And so how can we better clearly communicate that to our community? As far as the consultants, they were brought in because trying to organize information around schools, that's kind of a specialty issue, and there's not too many people that do that. And so we did have some assistance in putting that together. We didn't just say, hey, come in and make a plan and we'll rubber stamp whatever you're putting on there. They were brought in to come alongside us and assist us in developing a plan. And so I would like to give an opportunity for Kelly to answer anything or add anything, or you can pass too.
Kelly Bielefeld, Superintendent. And I would just say one of the themes that Ryan and Lily were mentioning is if you know better, you do better. That's a bit of, from the first town hall to this town hall, we've learned, right? We've learned a lot from the bond issue, narrowly failing, and we're doing exactly what you suggested. So Gil Alvarez and I and Dr. Steve Noble are hitting all 90 schools in 90 days, face-to-face. I've been at 3 buildings so far this week. Face-to-face interaction with the staff to hear from them. What are the needs? What are the things that you need? We just didn't have the time to do that the last time around, and so we're taking the time now to make sure we hear the voice of every staff member. So it was a great idea, and we're trying to put it into practice. So.
Thank you. Thank you for this moment. Thank you.
And again, if you'd give your name and where you live when you come to the mic, sure.
Hello, my name's Ron Schaff, and I live in southeast Wichita by St. Joseph Hospital. And first of all, thanks to all of you for coming here, and all you folks too. I mean, this is really important. I have a specific and simple question based on a problem we've noticed in our area, and that is our neighborhood is like mid-century, middle class. Where we're there, between the rows of houses, there's the alleyway. And so with the rain this last year, I mean, it turned into a jungle area. And so Yesterday I was out in the yard and my neighbor came by and said, "Hey, I got poison ivy from cleaning out the stuff between the houses." And she said, "Who's responsible for that? Who's supposed to take care of that?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know." But yeah, I mean, it's taller than I am, and that's not saying much, but the shrubbery's just really heavy. So her question was the same as mine. Who's responsible? Is there anybody we can call for that, or is it the responsibility of the homeowners on each side? If it is, have they ever been told that that's their responsibility? So it's a small problem, but she got poison ivy, so I'm here to help her.
I can quickly answer that. Without knowing the specific property, likely it could be the responsibility of the property owner. But if you send me your exact address, I will get back to you and let you know whose responsibility it is and figure out if it is the city's responsibility. We'll come out there and make sure that it's in our queue and that our staff knows about it. Often, due to resources, the city doesn't proactively go out there and look at these. They're very reactive, and so we have a city app and a city portal. If you download the app, it's just Wichita. It's the top app that'll pop up. I report things all the time on the app, and so it's pretty user-friendly for the most part. But if you send me your address, and I will get back to you and let you know. My email is just dglasscock@wichita.gov, and I can get you a specific answer.
Sure, thanks.
All right. I've had poison ivy, no fun. Thank you, Dalton.
You have to wait for me, I'm stiff. My name's Fredette Chance, and I live in City Council District 1. I'm in Knox School Board District. You sat on my front porch with me for 2 hours when you were campaigning, and I'm not sure, I think I'm in Mr. Meitzner's county commission. I was a high school teacher for 20 years in Derby, 5 years before that in Winfield, 9 years around in Wichita. And I've been in mostly high schools. That's where I'm comfortable. But since I've retired, I've been out into at least one elementary school, related to little kindergartners and that kind of thing. And what has happened this year, and I know everybody knows about this, what I'm concerned about is special ed. Because the funds have been cut. I mean, it's been not just the funds, the whole department's been cut. So now it's going to come back on the state and then on the city. And what I want to know is what kind of plans do you have to deal with that, and are you willing to accept help? Because I think there are people out in the community who, if there aren't enough, for instance, paras for the school district, for the schools, they probably would be willing to volunteer for that. And children who don't have homes don't have the services, you know. I mean, sometimes teachers will go out to the houses or the school district sends them. They don't have homes. It's going to get worse, and you can worry about the kids graduating and going off to work, but these little ones are coming up. And if they get lost, it happens usually between kindergarten and like 4th grade because the reading starts slipping and they get behind. And what you'll see are people, you know, they react differently. Some of them may just shrink back and do nothing. Some of them may cause trouble. And what really upset me with what was going on in the news was this way of talking about children with autism. They are not broken. They do not need to be put down like sick animals. They can provide all kinds of interesting approaches to thought and projects. It just made me angry. I mean, my 2 children did not have a problem with autism. I have a couple of friends who have children who are somewhere on the spectrum. I've worked with kids who are on the spectrum. And when they said broken, I thought, oh yeah, like that kid I had in honors English and AP English, and the one who went off to Baylor, and yeah, he is not broken. And he's doing, you know, he did all kinds of things. So I would like to believe, I would like to know, I would like to hear about things that the school district, and I think the city too, could help out with in providing, you know, you may not have people, but maybe you have facilities where people could work on these kinds of problems. Because I basically have become a professional helper. just doing what I can. And I know ever so many other people like that too. We would like to be involved in things if we just knew where. So if you could give me some information about what the school's doing about the funding, and not only have I been out in all these buildings, I have former students I've got scattered around out there. They feed things back to me. We get together and talk about it. And I want to do what I can, and I could give you, if you wanted, I could probably come up with 20 names that would help out starting. So that's what I have to say.
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for your long tenure of service in public education, and then also your continued volunteer service in the schools and caring and really reaching out to students. So first of all, I want to address the volunteer aspect. So Kelly and I just had a conversation recently about it's incumbent upon us to make it easy for people who want to volunteer in our schools, to give them an easy pathway to accomplish that. But for right now, I would just reach out to your local school that you'd want to volunteer at and go talk to the building principal. Believe me, they will fill in spots for you to volunteer. They've got lots of needs. There's no shortage of needs in the Wichita Public School System. So if you go to your nearby school and say, hey, I want to volunteer, here's my skill set, they will put you to work. As far as the federal funding goes, there's been a lot of, I'll call it saber rattling on funding sources. And so far, I'm looking over at our current CFO, that there has been disruptions, but there has not been a loss of federal funds currently. Is that accurate? Okay, I'm getting a thumbs up. So with special needs services, that is a service that we have to provide. We are legally obligated to provide that. And the Wichita Public Schools does a lot of great things, but one of the things that I think we do really well at is providing those special needs services for kids. We have students that come from outside of the district to receive our special ed services. And so whether they're dyslexic, whether they're autistic, whatever their needs are, we are really here to meet the needs of students, their academic needs, to provide them a successful foundation for education. So, did I answer all those questions? Was there?
I think so. It's just one of, it would be nice if the school district had some kind of register we could sign up, or something that's more central, because otherwise if you say, well, just go over and talk to your school, our school may not be the one that needs the people. We don't know that. So how do we find the school that needs the most people and would be willing to have people come in? That's what you could do for us.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, but then to go even a step further, my thought process was if we have a retired gentleman who loves wrenching on cars and wants to share that skill with students, where could he go to share that skill? Because we do have automotive classes for somebody like that, but how would they know where to go for those services? So I wholeheartedly agree, and we had talked about kind of creating an online form, and then that way it kind of funnels to the right people so they can send those people that want to volunteer in our schools to the right area so they can get involved actively. So there's lots of avenues, but it really is incumbent upon us to provide those easy onboarding pathways.
Commissioner?
Sure. I'll thank you as well, but I just want to point out that this is a really good topic that brings the three bodies together. So this is something that at the county level, we have a department called Aging and Intellectual Disabilities. So knowing that this is a perceived issue that we need to know about, perhaps I don't have the answer for it tonight, but we can get with the department director and talk through what the county can do to support if there's a short help in our special needs children, and maybe we can work together with the school on that. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, I think that's a great opportunity. And I'll tell you, one of the big challenges that we're seeing in the developmental disability organization that the county oversees, so we fund and partner with Starkey and Catch and Rainbows and a whole host of other community organizations. This is an opportunity to create awareness for the community. The biggest issue we're facing right now in some of that, aside from the federal funding challenges, are what we call the gaps, those that are dual diagnosed. So someone that has a developmental or intellectual disability but also has a diagnosed mental health disorder. Because what happens is Starkey says, well, we do developmental disability, but we don't do mental health. So they call ComCare. ComCare says, well, we do mental health, but we don't do developmental disability. And these kids, and this is a growing subset of our population, these kids are growing, these young adults many times are growing in this, and we have no real mechanism to treat and to help and to support this population. Just today, we voted at the county to approve a pilot program called START Services. And this is a curriculum where we'll come in and train individuals and case managers for this type of specific challenge, which the dual diagnosed individual. So if it's happening in the community at Starkey and Catching Rainbows, we know it's happening in the school districts. And this is an opportunity where we can say, okay, we have this model that we're exploring at the county. How can we work with the school district to take START services and help these teachers and these administrators and these social workers and these special education teachers? How can we best support the work you're doing? Because you're paying taxes to both. You're paying taxes to the county and you're paying taxes to the school district. Well, shouldn't we be beholden on us now to work together and leverage your resource, these tax dollars, and leverage that for the tax dollars you're spending, instead of you having to pay them to go create a START model? You're already paying us to do that. So we have this capacity. We need to work together, share that service, and leverage that resource. So great question. Thank you for your service.
Yes. Oh, we've got a couple.
Kind of feels like a lead-in because I've got a bit of a spicy brain myself. So my name's Mark. I live in District 2, grew up in District 2. I really wanted to just pontificate about one subject tonight, about the Chautauqua movement. I brought it up with some electeds before, and I'm just going to go through and just hit some of my favorite parts on this, and we're going to see where we end up. The Chautauqua movement was started by the 20th Century Club at the turn of the 20th century, and its basic foundation was to provide a fun, not necessarily free, but it's probably free environment, a festival of higher learning, a festival of learning for adults, families, all sorts of things. The way I have kind of broken it down in my own imagination is it's like a Comic-Con of learning. It's a celebration of that. We brought up earlier about pipelines. An event like this, a festival like this, the Chautauqua movement itself, is an ideal place to stick your pipeline opportunities. You can show these are your local employment opportunities. Here's the new nursing outlets you can go through, and here's how you can get started in that program. And that's not just for students, that's also for adults. That's also for people wanting to get back in the workforce in a new way. It has strong historical ties to Wichita's historical and cultural foundations. If you look up Louise Caldwell Murdoch, we have a building named after her downtown. She was a huge part of this, and she was a tremendous proponent of getting civic activity and education into the hands of our families, into our adult community, into our student community, and getting everyone talking. So I see y'all coming out for something like this, and this is where I end up. I didn't come in here thinking about the Chautauqua movement tonight, but it's never too far from my mind. That's really it. If you have any questions about it, I would love to answer some, but that's kind of what I wanted to say.
That was my first time hearing it, so thank you very much for educating us. Could you email us that information? I am actually very interested. I always say one of the things that I learned from being a USD 259 student is my love for lifelong learning. And I believe that every day you have the opportunity to learn. And this is the very thing. When you're at a town hall, I hope that people are catching little nuggets of learning, whether it's you didn't know about that nonprofit that existed. You didn't know that today the county just passed this new pilot program. So I am very interested in learning more. I know that one thing that USD 259, Kelly, can you share, sorry, I'm asking out of turn here, but Kelly, can you talk about how you bring seniors now together to kind of get exposed to all the different either job opportunities or even educational opportunities once a year? Can you address that?
I don't know about that. So this is actually another Tri-Gov initiative that some of you may not even be aware of, but we've hosted a senior career fair the last few years trying to connect our kids with employers. We've run it just through our school district. Post-COVID, we usually have around, 500 to 700 seniors that interact with about 100 different employers. This year, we're with the county's cooperation, we're hosting at Century 2. It's a county-wide job fair, so Mays School District is going to be involved. We are planning on somewhere around 900 to 1,000 total seniors all across the county, working together with our colleagues, working with business and industry to get kids exposed. It won't be just for seniors, but it's mainly for seniors who don't have a plan, who need to go straight into the workforce. So I don't know if that's what you're referring to, but that's one of the initiatives we're working together on.
And thank you for highlighting that it's a tri-government. Century 2 obviously is part of the city of Wichita. County is now being involved by having a county-wide, and then USD 259 kind of taking the leadership. However, I wanted to, maybe that's a really good point. These are seniors, so most of them are 17 or 18 years old. Would there be a possibility to also allow community members to see these opportunities?
For the job fair? That's something we could definitely talk about, especially we're restricted somewhat by transportation. And so there's periods of time during the day that there's lulls so we could open up windows of opportunity. While the employers are there, they want to maximize their time. And so a bit of getting them to show up is us being able to say X number of kids are going to be there and ready for jobs. So we have kids of all different shapes and sizes in our district, so we try to meet the needs of every kids that want to go straight into the workforce, do tech school, and definitely support higher ed. And
so just to be clear, the Chautauqua movement concept, it's not primarily about retraining and jobs. That's an element of it. In the full blooming of something like this, we're talking maybe 30% is that.
Yeah.
The predominant focus would be bringing in popular, secular voices for rational reason, scientific expression, progression towards whatever's in the future. So I'm thinking like Hank John Green, Bill Nye, if you wanted to reach back further. Those are the sorts of names you'd want to bring in for something like this. And if you do it right, if it doesn't look just like a jobs fair, which that's important, that should be part of it, but if it looks like more than that, if it looks like a dedicated effort to get that education into our community, that's when you get those names to show up. Yeah.
Idea, thank you. And wasn't it Bill Nye that was here just last year for the Tech Summit? So that is really a great opportunity. A lot of folks didn't even know that he was here in town. And I think that that would have been a really great opportunity to have opened it up to the rest of the community. So we're making sausage from the bench, as one of my colleagues says. But I thank you for spurring more conversation. But I would love to explore, at least as a starting point, this job career fair, educational fair for seniors, if there's an opportunity for an hour to be for the community, since they're already going to be in that space. We'll keep talking.
Okay, Kim?
This is wonderful. This is what we need to be doing. This is what we should have been doing all along. So when these three groups get together, I'm Rebecca Armstrong, I'm District 1 County, and I'm real concerned about the environment. I'm concerned a lot about the decisions that are being made. So they're not being made from the bottom up, they're being made from the top down. So in the school, I worked for the school, and I was in the listening session at Northeast Magnet. The listening session, we were hit with a list of questions we could ask. Those questions had to do with the building. What did we have to fix in the building? What had happened 3 years ago, was an engineering firm was hired. That engineering firm came up with a solution about the buildings. The process was faulty in that what should have happened is they should have gone to the front, the leading edge, the people, the frontline workers, and asked them about what was going on in the schools. The issues we have are real complex. They're real difficult. We have environmental problems. We have chronic absenteeism. We have teachers that are tired and burnt out and leave. So we have trouble keeping teachers. We have a lack of funding. So there are a lot of really complex issues here. They're not just here locally, but across the country that we need to address. To address them, you have to go to the people and ask what's going on. So the teachers aren't asked. They aren't asked, what can we do to solve this? They're told. And because of that, the solutions coming up aren't the best. when you think Toyota or Honda, how they came across with these kinds of solutions in managing people. Kansas leadership knows about doing this, and they weren't contacted. They know how to do this. They know how to go into communities and get the communities to talk, to figure out what are the problems, what do we need to fix. USD 259 sells this beautiful school for $200,000, beautiful school. The district, the Sedgwick County, ComCare was horrible what was happening. They didn't ask their people how to fix that. They didn't even talk to their people. They just made it a miserable place to work, not realizing the effects that mental illness would be on our street everywhere we look. But our city, our county, our school district can fix this, but we have to have a regular situation where we're asking the people, what's wrong? What do we have to do? How can we fix this? So this is really great. This is a great first step, but there's a lot of issues. And for our county person, I was really concerned when you said, we're not in the business of parks. When that 600 acres on Greenwich, North Greenwich there, and you want to sell it, and that is a beautiful natural area. I walk there all the time. It's beautiful. We need that for clean water. We need that natural spaces for clean air. We need natural spaces for our health. We need to start to think about that in every one of our developments. We don't hold them accountable for the number of trees they take down. Wichita, Kansas loses 6,000 trees a year, and they're not replaced. We see it in every development. They go in there, take the first 2 or 3 feet of soil off, take all the trees. Overnight, they burn them, and we're left with that destruction. They're not building their communities with a center for people to come together. That's tearing us apart. And the best practices are to put a center, put sidewalks, make your streets smaller so people can come together. So there's things we can do, but we have to start to listen to the people.
Thank you, Rebecca. So I'm glad you like this format, and ironically, this is the first tri-governmental meeting that the Kansas Leadership Center has not been involved in. So we love KLC, and we think their process and their group setting format is really effective. But I will point out that this was kind of a spur of the moment change in this kind of format tonight. And so there's no hard feelings to KLC, but they're not here tonight, even though we respect their work. So it's interesting that you say you want to hear solutions from the bottom up. And Kelly and I have talked extensively about how do we listen and hear from the staff members that are in the classrooms working with students day in and day out. And that listening tour is a response to that. So hitting up every single building that we have in the district to go out and directly hear from the teachers, from the building administrators at that building, not at a group setting, not combining buildings, but physically being there at that building is an opportunity to hear from the people from all levels in the building of what their needs are. Now, this tour right now in the fall is focused on facilities, because our conversation right now is, what if the district, and this is Diane's example, right? This is not the district's example. Diane's example is, what if we as a district level leadership say they need a new gym floor replaced or refinished, but then the classroom teachers, you ask them and they're like, I need carpet in my classroom. That would be helpful. And it's very similar in price. Well, we shouldn't replace the gym floor. We should be putting carpet in the classrooms because that's what the teachers need to feel more comfortable in the room, to be more successful, whatever those examples might be. So this is our attempt to hear directly from the people in the buildings at each individual building, because where you work at Northeast Magnet is going to have very different needs than at North High School, right? I mean, North High's facility needs have been on the news, Northeast is not. So we are making direct attempts to hear from the bottom up, those are your words, to address those situations. Because as we move forward and we have a lot of facility needs, we want to know, okay, here's the needs that the district is labeling, and here's the needs that the building level people are labeling. And so where can we make inroads? What are the biggest lifts? So I would say that is a direct result from that.
And I appreciate that. Let me explain it a little deeper. When I say bottom up, we have in-service. And when we have an in-service, it's a day where the school, there's no kids. We have quite a bit of in-service time. This year, in our in-service, they had rally at the Roundhouse. It was mandatory. They took 140 buses to WSU, loud, noisy. It was just fun, but it wasn't doing the hard work. And when you went outside of that arena, there were the older teachers in particular, but a lot of the younger teachers outside really disgusted. It's painful. It was painful because we're more than that. We have content, we have thoughts, and nobody's asking. So during the in-service time is a really good time from the bottom up, from the principal can do that within that realm and say, what do we need? How do we go? How do we go forward? How do we improve our school? And from that school, those ideas get filtered up. From that principal, it gets filtered forward. When you asked the teachers, you went to the teachers and said, what's the most important thing to you? They said, we don't want to lose our resources. And it wasn't money, it was people. We don't want to lose these mental health professionals that have come into our schools. What happened at Northeast Magnet, that engineering firm, which never came into our school and talked to us, I didn't see them walking around the hallways or any of that. They came into that school and they came out and said, hey, that Northeast Magnet, it's underutilized. So they started packing students. Every year we have an increase in students. We have a teacher walking around with a cart. She just got a master's in environmental science from Scotland, and she's pushing a cart through the school because she doesn't have a classroom, and it's going to get worse. I run from class to class. I have no place to take the students to. So it's going to get worse for us. So bottom up is asking during those in-service times and creating that environment throughout all the schools. Asking them, what can we do? How can we make this better? How can we make it safer?
I agree with you, Rebecca, which is why you and I have had coffee, right? Kelly has had coffee with hundreds of people. We listen, but I'm saying we do an intentional and deliberate reach out to anybody and everybody. I don't think more people in this town.
That's different than what I'm speaking of.
Hold on, Rebecca, hold on. Because more people in this town probably have my cell phone number and the superintendent's cell phone number than probably ever. It is very easy to get a hold of us, and it is very easy to get a meeting with us. And we listen and we try to make changes where we can. I listen to all types of people, so that doesn't mean everybody gets what they want, right? I've got people over here and I've got people over here.
That's different than what I'm speaking. You're up here. What I'm saying is if you ask the people, how can we make this better down here on a regular basis?
Right.
That's how Honda and Toyota became
I know,
famous.
and get an Evolve magazine, wichita.gov/evolve, EVOLVE. Okay, wichita.gov/evolve.
Joseph, if you don't mind, this gentleman has waited patiently. Go ahead to the microphone, sir.
Go ahead, sir.
No, please. We want to hear, yes.
Beauty before age. My name's David. I'm in District 4, the man's district. And I don't know what my, Board of Education is. I have no idea. Couldn't tell you. Okay, fine. I have a question for folks on the dais. What is the county and city, and to some degree, school districts' position on veterans in the community? Because some of us in this community are not being heard, nor being utilized in the best way possible.
I appreciate that question. We actually have a veteran. Jim Howell is a veteran. And
Other than Mr. Howell.
Yes, Commissioner Howell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know what? I love being a veteran, and I am always looking around to see what kind of things are out there for veterans. We have a really incredible community. Number one, our McConnell Air Force Base is a very, very engaged organization in this community. In fact, I think it was just yesterday or the day before we had a lunch. It was yesterday. We had a lunch with the Wichita Chamber, who hosted a veterans appreciation lunch, I suppose it was. It was wonderful, and we learned so much about veteran services. They brought in the state Veterans Affairs person to the meeting. They gave us just a tremendous amount of information about what's going on in the state of Kansas for veterans legislatively, and opportunities that are happening at different places around the state that are just incredible investment for veterans and all kinds of services. Just when you see what's going on, it is incredible how much money is being invested. In fact, I believe he said that basically in the state of Kansas, over $3 billion is being invested for veteran services in Kansas per year. That is incredible. That's a huge amount. Think about the entire state general fund is about $7 billion. For this one organization to be spending that kind of money, our community alone, you look at the employment dollars and the service dollars being spent in Sedgwick County or in this area for veterans, it's right at about $500 million for veterans. And so the relationship is fantastic. In fact, the base just invited, some of us got to go on a tour with the base. So we got to fly on a KC-46 and went to go see some different bases in the area, and went down to Lackland, San Antonio. I got to visit the Haven for Hope homeless shelter when I was down there. But being able to learn more about the military folks in Wichita, what they do in here in Wichita, and how they connect to Altus Air Force Base, Oklahoma, the synergy, the networking that was happening, and the base put this on. They paid for everything. There is such a great connection between our community and the veterans of this community. It is noteworthy. Even they will tell you this is an extraordinary community for veterans. I'm also a member of the Veterans. I'm sorry. That's true. Sedgwick County has a retail discount card that you can get from the county register of deeds. You can register a DD Form 214 through the county. They give you 5 free copies and a discount card that you can use throughout the community. It's a government-issued photo ID, believe it or not. So that's another ID card you can get. I'm a member of the Veterans Providers I'm a board member of the Veterans Providers Coalition of Sedgwick County. We just had about a month ago our Providers Coalition. I believe they had about 200 or so vendors, service providers in the community came together at the Metroplex over there at Wichita State University. Mayor Wu was there, and a number of other people stopped in to see what was going on. It was a incredible, bustling area with just table after table after table of people providing all kinds of services, medical services, financial services, home services. Just the number of things that are going on for veterans in this community is hard to describe. It's so much. Now, with respect to these 3 government organizations, I know we care deeply about our veterans. I think there actually is a veterans preference, I believe, in our employment application. So if you're a veteran, you declare that, and there actually is a preference given to veterans to be employed by either any of these 3 organizations. And so we bend over backwards for veterans, and I'm so glad we do that. Not that we can't do more, we should. I think there's opportunities, especially at the state level, for all of our veterans. And by the way, I assume you are a veteran. Thank you for your service, if that's true. Thank you for your service. But again, I'd say we've not arrived, but man, we're doing pretty good. I wouldn't give us an A+. We certainly get an A. Okay, we're doing pretty good. Could we do better? Possibly. but it's getting hard to find things to do better. We're doing such a good job in Sedgwick County for veterans. Thank you.
David, I'll just answer real fast as well. I used to do military and veteran affairs for the U.S. House of Representatives, and so every day my job was to work on casework for veterans and service members that are having challenges, and that was my favorite job, even above this one, was doing that. One thing that the city does have that I would like to add is that we have the Veterans Ride Free program with city transit. And so if you're a veteran with any ID, a designation on your driver's license or any other form of ID, you can ride Wichita Transit for free. So it's just another avenue that the city has to try to help veterans in our community too. So don't add anything else, just wanted to add that too.
Yeah, I would add one thing to this. One of the things when we talk about the homelessness challenges that we have, and you look at subsets of the homeless population, the Coalition to End Homelessness in partnership with the City of Wichita had really focused on the subset of veteran homelessness and looking to get at functional zero and end veterans homelessness in the City of Wichita. So that was one of the things, and it's actually, there's been significant progress. We had a celebration ceremony just 2 years ago that we had veterans homelessness under 5 known veterans that were homeless at the time. So lots of work to be done there, but it was a specific emphasis, veterans homelessness in particular. So I thank you for your service, bud.
If I could go ahead and interject here, USD 259 has the JROTC program, and all of our instructors are veterans, and they know people, and it's a great program, and if you're looking to get involved, I'm sure that we have places for more instructors. They've got a lot of drills, they have a lot of meets that they compete in with one another, the schools do. So this kind of ties all 3 of the entities in together with our veterans, and thank you for your service. I've got 2 sons that are Air Force, so I'm very grateful for you. What are you, Army? Oh, Marines? Okay, I did boot camp for Marines this year, so it's a tough one.
And to piggyback onto what Kathy's saying, in Wichita Public Schools, we very much celebrate veterans, and our ROTC program is a fabulous program. And on an annual basis, we get together down at Century 2, and the kids are all there on display, and we have past graduates come and speak, and it is an incredible celebration of veterans and their service, and of the kids that are a part of our JRTC program. And in fact, our president, Diane Elbert, was a part of the JROTC program at Wichita Public Schools. It's a fabulous program. We have a lot of great programs at Wichita Public Schools that are not well known. JROTC is top notch.
Yeah, so thank you for your service. My husband's a veteran. I regret not joining the military because I was in JROTC. So we have a great program. We also have a Veterans Day ceremony on November 12th, and that's going to be at the WSU Koch Arena. There's a gymnasium off the arena, and we'll be in there. So all of our instructors will be there. We've got Air Force, Army, and Marines. And so if you have a special talent and you want to volunteer with our JROTC programs, they would love to have you. We have drill, we have drones, we have archery, we have airsoft, because I did shoot those at one of the schools last year, which was very fun. So we've got a lot of different activities that they do at the programs.
The other, Chairman, I mean, the other question I was having in respects to that, is there like if your veterans start here type program where if you come to Wichita or Sedgwick County or what have you, to say, hey, since I came here and I'm a veteran, how do I, 1, get services, 2, give employment, do all these different things that are, within the city and county of, and to some degree, the school district within the local area. Otherwise, why am I coming to this area? Other than if I'm part of, the base or something like that, and I just kind of slide out from, the base to the community. That's what I'm getting at. Is I understand some of the stuff here, but I'm like, if I'm coming here, how do I, other than, going from the sheriff's side with the Veterans Treatment Court, being followed by that, how do I do stuff on the up and up?
Yeah.
My apologies, Sheriff. But from that standpoint, trying to be a productive member of society as well as being a veteran.
Yeah, David,
That's
great.
my question.
Commissioner Howe does such a good job on the veteran stuff, so I'm going to let him answer that.
And again, I think if I understand your question correctly, say you're an arriving veteran, how do you get connected to all the things that are going on? Again, I just, not to repeat myself, but the Veterans Providers Coalition is a very, very active group that they meet monthly. In fact, there's people in there would like to meet with you as soon as you're ready. And I could be glad to connect you with the right people. They meet constantly. They are a social group, so you get to know people pretty quickly, but there's lots and lots of resources that are connected through that group. And so I would just recommend that you get connected to the Veterans Providers Coalition of Sedgwick County. I think I can't give the acronym because it's too hard to say, but Veterans Providers Coalition of Sedgwick County is the name of that organization. I would also say, just to dovetail on what they said earlier, that ROTC, I think there's thousands of students in uniform marching in parade at that event. So it's really impressive. You want to make you feel good about students in Sedgwick County, that is a great thing to go and experience these kids that are showing discipline and organization and submission, if you will, to the ideas of what ROTC teaches. It just really is incredible to do that. And then one more thing I also wanted to mention is that Sedgwick County did lead. David Dennis, who was one of our former colleagues here, was a retired Air Force veteran, and he was adamant about veterans, everything. In fact, I'm trying to keep up with him. He was so good on veterans. But he led the effort, and I was glad to participate in this, but we moved Sedgwick County to be a Purple Heart County. So if you come into the county from different directions, you'll notice there's signs all over the place. What does that mean? We again, we like to connect as many people as we can that actually have Purple Heart history, that have lost a loved one or have been injured through combat to services. And so we are very intentional about being a Purple Heart County. And so it sounds like it's just a sign, but really it's not. It means something to us. So this is a county that cares deeply for our veterans. If you would contact me, again, my name is Jim Howell. I'll get you connected personally to the VSBC, the Veterans Providers Coalitions of Sedgwick County. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Appreciate you, brother. Yeah.
Thank you, folks.
Can I add one more thing, David?
Yes, ma'am.
Again, thank you for your service. There's a website called homebasewichita.com. It is an investment by the city of Wichita with workforce centers. That specifically is to provide not just military, but also spouses the opportunity for employment opportunities in our area. So that's one aspect. The other I wanted to mention was, so the city of Wichita, I've mentioned that we, one of our departments is parks. We have the Veterans Memorial Park. And so thankfully there's a 501c3 that takes care of the Veterans Memorial Park. However, Parks also oversees that park. They're always looking for people to get involved, especially Memorial Day, Independence Day, and Veterans Day coming up. There is a big parade, so mark this on your calendars, everybody. November 8th, Saturday in downtown Wichita, from City Hall to Exploration Place, there will be the Veterans Day Parade. And so again, November 8th. And then I just wanted to, last but not least, really mention something that we should be proud of in the city of Wichita. And that was in April of this year, the Dole VA Hospital was recognized the best city, well, so Dole VA and the city, the best city in America for veterans healthcare. And so this recognition was a really high honor. And I think it's something that, again, if we keep sharing some of the things that really make our city and our community, our county, such a stellar location to welcome not just our veteran families, but also all individuals who want to call Wichita our home, keep on sharing those really great accolades that we're getting.
Thank you. I will mention before Joseph, go ahead and come ahead. The time frame for this, we do have the room until 7:30. It's about 7:05. We're going to continue taking questions, but just so you know, that's kind of the timeline as we proceed. Go ahead, please.
Well, I'll be bold, brave, and brief. Okay. So the first question that I have, Joseph Shepard, Wichita City Council District 1, County Commissioner Pete Meitzner, and Stan Reeser is actually my Board of Education member. We'll talk about the maps a different day. With that being said, you all talked a lot about the unhoused and talked about transit, and I really appreciate the collaboration across Tri-Government to do that. I think it's bold, it's innovative, and really appreciative of you all taking a step in the right direction for our community. I'm particularly interested in social workers and how do we have the shared services across social workers to focus on mental health. Today I was grabbing coffee. There was an unhoused neighbor who was being moved from their encampment. And I often think about how are we taking the time to get to know that person's story and their unique needs and utilizing case management services to get them the resources that they need. So that way we don't see this recidivism of they pick up their encampment from one place and they just move it down the street to another place. But I also think about individuals where cases like Sedgwick Lofton, right, where unfortunate situation, but mental health played a role in that. So I'm wondering, is that something you all are willing to talk about, have been talking about? And then I'll reserve my second question.
Yeah, I'll jump off that first. I know the school district, obviously, this is the conversation. If you talk to any teacher, they'll tell you what's happening in the schools in regards to mental and behavioral health. I want to just tell you 4 legs of the stool that are all under construction right now that will, in my view, demonstrate to you and affirm to you this community's commitment to mental and behavioral health services. The first is we are now, thanks to the leadership of Sheriff Easter, we are now building a $100 million mental health hospital in South Wichita, 104 beds. It's a desperate need. He has people that have been sitting in his jail upwards of 18 months waiting on a psychiatric evaluation. And then you have the acute needs. If you talk to anyone from St. Joseph, they will tell you we need more beds. So that's happening right now under construction. It will be open in 2027. You have Second Light, formerly called the MAC, for those that are in the homeless population. Obviously, ComCare and MHA is going to have a big role playing there. We just ground broke, number 3, the ComCare Crisis Center. That's a $20 million investment that's going to have significant more access and services, particularly for those that have no insurance. That's the role that ComCare plays in this community. And the 4th thing is that $300 million biomed school that's going to help us with the workforce pipeline. All 4 of those are under construction right now in this community. These are things that we've been talking about in this community for over a decade, and they're happening right now. So I tell you, and I think I've told you this as well, we're in this strange middle right now to where we know what's coming. And I've said publicly that I think that one day we will be the gold standard nationally of how a community collaborates together to deal with mental and behavioral health challenges. But we're in the messy middle. All these things are under construction and we know what's coming, but it's this stick our nose to the grindstone and work to get to that. But it's all happening right now. If you do the math, we've got over roughly $600 million of project in the pipeline this second.
I agree, Commissioner, and I agree with you. We're going to be the golden standard. And I think what I have found is that while we are in the messy middle, which is a real thing, I think a lot of us in the room can understand that and we can reconcile with that. And then the average person may not be able to, right? We're in this room and I often worry that we are preaching and speaking to the individuals who somewhat have the temperature and the patience to understand that government often moves very slow. But there are a lot of families who don't care. I mean, we're talking about SNAP benefits potentially being on hold for a while and what that means. And I saw the county put out a message. So shout out to the county for that. The second thing that I have, the last thing, is it goes back to what Jenny mentioned earlier, the appetite to really have the people involved in the process and the shaping of the policy. And City Council had a great example of that our community does care. And our community wants to be a part of making the policy. So I know that the city has a legislative agenda, the county has a legislative agenda, and the Board of Education has a legislative agenda. And I'm wondering if there is an opportunity to look at every year, what can we as a tri-governmental body collectively put on, like one thing every year, right? Because each of you all have your own things that you have to focus on. But I'm wondering if there's one thing that can be focused on where the county, the city, and the Board of Education are coming together to say, this is the issue that we want to tackle, and community, come out and tell us your experiences, and by the end of this year, we hope to at least move the needle 1%. Maybe it's not 100, but maybe it's like we're moving the needle 1% and then encouraging the community to be a part of that process.
Thank you for that. I'm going to tackle that one because I was just at our WSU Tech board meeting last week. By the way, WSU Tech and Future Ready just opened up the new Future Ready IT, which is the 3rd one. It's also called HACK, and it's focused on IT and cybersecurity. and it's over at the South Campus, the former Wichita Mall. At our board meeting, this was very real, and I think we need to have this conversation as a community. And those are CTE dollars that are at risk. And sometimes Wichita gets punished for our size when we compare ourselves to rural Kansans. And I think one of the things we've been talking about and why we keep mentioning Future Ready is that not every student will go to a four-year university, and we don't want them all going to a four-year university. We want them to find their right path, and their right path is through discovering it while they're at their schools through USD 259, through these Future Readies. However, CTE dollars, which are career technical education dollars, are at risk. And so we need to talk about that. And I think that that would be a really good one for all three of us to maybe discuss, of having that joint voice of we need these CTE dollars for Wichitan children, but they're also county children and they're USD 259 children. So I really think that that could be that collaborative. And I really do appreciate having that one thing that we go to Topeka to advocate for on the behalf of three different bodies. And I think that that's what has been proven to be successful. I can tell you this, last year when I became mayor, 2 weeks later, we went to Topeka. And for the first time ever, we said, we'll drop all the other things that we want. We have a laundry list that everyone wants a lot of things from lawmakers in Topeka, and they're being pulled multiple different ways. However, we had one voice. All 7 of us spoke in one voice saying we need help with homelessness in our community. And it was a success in that we all went with one focus. It was a failure because we did not get any dollars. But it did not make us stop. That's where this collaboration happened, where we saw Park Elementary became one of the schools that was going to be shuttered. We said, there's an opportunity there, possibly. It's right next to a lot of the services that many of our community members are utilizing. So we started having conversations and we invited the community to talk with us. We had our town hall in February, immediately after going to Topeka, and we talked about homelessness. By May, we had conversations about Park Elementary. Could that be a possibility? Let's get it back out to community and let's talk about this. So I want you to see that there is good movement. There's good movement among these 3 separate bodies really trying to make a big effort in moving this community forward together. And it has to be, it can't be multiple different ways or multiple different focus areas. We can focus on one and let's get some wins with that one. And I am very grateful, again, to my colleagues that have been working really hard at helping with homelessness in our community. The city is investing $30 million into Second Light. It is not just a shelter, it's shelter plus services, and the next phase is affordable housing on that campus. So you can see, we're not just talking about things, we're actually really making a big effort, and we're working not just in the front, but also working, getting our hands dirty, and really trying to make things work for this community. So I just want to say thank you for reminding us we need to have a focus area, and that could be a legislative agenda.
Yeah, great question, Joseph. I would also just say that the effort at the state, we all have to, another awareness opportunity. Wichita bears a disproportionate burden across the state in homelessness. Is there are people from all across the state that are coming to Wichita because we have services. So going to the state and saying, this is a logical request, we need your help here, because Wichita is dealing with a disproportionate problem for people all across the state. It was a shot and miss on the first go. I have a hunch there's going to be a second go in a conversation with the state, but that was one example. My last point here is we have legislative platforms. We also have joint platforms. The city of Wichita, the county, WSU, I believe, is involved. I think Wichita State, yeah, Wichita State's involved. I think that we should invite the conversation with USD 259 to at least come into the room and say, hey, from a joint platform for this community, We need to be aware of what's happening in education because it certainly impacts everything that we do at the county in regards to workforce, mental health, crime, juvenile services. All of these things are interconnected. So I think it is wise. Tom, would you agree? I think Bob certainly would agree that we invite the school district into the room and have a conversation on a joint platform. So thank you for that.
I'm Doris Santee, and I live in southwest Wichita. I can't let the evening end without asking about some coordination and so forth that might be going on to support and protect our immigrant communities. I'm really concerned about this. I have a daughter that teaches preschool in the part of the city that has a lot of those children, and I think every day it's concern, is something going to happen to my kids? And, well, I have an employee that, friend, that didn't show up recently. And so I tried to contact her, couldn't get a hold of her. And so my thoughts go, I hope her family's okay. And so it's a concern to everybody. But what kind of programs and so forth, what kind of support do we have for those and for possible ICE situations in the future?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I hate to do this without asking, but Sheriff, this has been a topic of conversation that he's led in the state, and I think that his perspective would be very helpful here. So, Sheriff, if you wouldn't mind helping here.
Well, good evening. Appreciate everybody being here. So, yes, this has been a topic of discussion since January. And it's sometimes a long discussion to educate people on exactly what this is, okay? From a local law enforcement standpoint, so Wichita Police Department, Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office, we cannot enforce federal law when it comes to immigration, period. That's not our bivouac, and that's not something that we can even enforce, okay? From a standpoint of what ICE does, ICE is their own entity. They're a federal government law enforcement agency. They have policy, they have direction from the elected officials on how to do their job, plain and simple. We can't control that. The one thing that I will tell you that's different here in Wichita that you do not see in some of these other communities that have been labeled sanctuary counties or cities, which there's real no definition on that, but what you see from that is they also have different policies there that folks that are accused of child rape, of murder, of those very kind of violent crimes, a lot of those folks are released right away. Here in Wichita, because of the bail system that we have here that's set by the judges, it's uniformed, those type of things, those kind of folks that happen to be here illegally as well, that are booked into our facility, they stay in our facility for usually till trial. And so we don't have that same type of dynamic going on in this community. One of the things that people talk about all the time is the ICE detainers. What those are is people who've committed criminal acts, are also here illegally. ICE gets that information every morning at 8 o'clock because we submit everybody gets fingerprinted that comes into the jail. That goes into the FBI database. It has to. ICE has connections, well, they get that information through the FBI every morning at 8 o'clock. And if they run them through their system, if they have entered the country illegally, they put a detainer on them. Do we honor those detainers here? Yes, we do. Now, I will tell you, mainly what we see out of that is your felony type crimes and your violent crimes that they catch. The folks that come in at 10, 11 o'clock at night, that are in and out of jail for DUIs or misdemeanor crimes, they're not going to catch those type of folks and put detainers on them. So when I talk about this throughout the community, there's both sides of this issue. I, as in law enforcement, it's what the law says, it's what we follow. I stay out of the politics of it. But there's other entities in this community that if you're committing those type of violent crimes, then they need to stay in jail. And that's what the detainer assures of. And we honor those. Have we been asked by ICE to do any type of operation here? No, we have not. If it's an operation like what you're seeing on the news where they're jumping out of vans at Home Depots, we're not going to be involved in that. If we get where they're doing operations and they're getting shot at, they're getting ran over by cars, are we going to be involved in those? Absolutely. We're obligated to do that. And so I can't answer your question from an ICE standpoint. What I can tell you is that it's created a lot of fear in the community. And we've been meeting with different communities talking about this issue. I can tell you, and I can tell you this from the Wichita Police Department, we don't care what your status is. Because what happens is these folks call because they need law enforcement because they're a victim of a crime. We don't go and ask you what your status is. We're going to take care of the issue that is in front of us right then and there. That's what our job is on this. And so, does it put law enforcement in the middle of this thing? Yes, it does. And so, the instruction that we have given to our deputies, and I can tell you because of Chief Sullivan being in some of the same meetings that I've been in, same direction he's given his police officers, is that we're making the call. We're there for the victims. These people are already scared to call us. And so that's what we're there for. And that's what I can assure you that is taking place right now, because we've met with different immigrant groups that are citizens like you all here that have a big interest in this, and we've assured them of that. And they've told these different segments of the community that they can call the police and they can call the sheriff when they need us, and they have. And so it is a delicate issue, and it is a problematic issue. I know because of the fear and those type of things, there was rumors immediately when you saw this taking place in Chicago and in LA that ICE was arresting and deporting all these people. I know that not to be true because ICE wasn't even here. They were in Chicago and in LA. And I can also tell you, I'm not aware of any major operation that they've done here. And so that's kind of where we're at this point.
If they did something in Wichita, would you be told about it at any level?
I think we would here in Wichita because of the relationships that we've had over the years with our local HSI and ICE. So I think we would. And they would tell us about it because of what's happening in these other communities. Because they don't have the amount of people to handle when folks come to protest them or throw stuff at them or engage them in a violent manner like they're seeing in some of these other communities. So I think we would.
Lots of good questions. Unfortunately, it's about 7:25. We've got time for one more.
Hello, sorry about that. Hello, my name is Wyatt Barman. I live on Oliver and 21st Street in District 1, and I have a question about Second Light. I was at a previous city town hall, and I recently saw something about law enforcement being used to bring the unhoused to this new facility. Would this be like a average contingent of the police force, or would it be a specific task force for this purpose?
So I'll go for it. So Second Light allows anyone in the community that needs that shelter plus services to come inside. However, it has moved to a different model where you get an assigned bed so that you are guaranteed that bed, and it also helps with helping the individual really move into housing eventually. And so overnight, they have 3 beds that law enforcement or emergency first responders can bring someone in because their lights are out at 11 p.m. This is simply just so that they have a place if someone really needs that emergency help. So that's the protocol.
Yeah, I would add that City of Wichita and the Wichita Police Department have a really special unit that's really unique across the country, and it's the HOT team, the Homeless Outreach Team. And they are working in these homeless populations and developing relationships, and there's a lot of social work that's happening there, and they're trained for these types of trauma responses. The other thing, too, is you'll notice, when we remember last winter when we had emergency winter shelter, and wind chills got down to 10 below, 20 below, it was the Wichita Police Department that really stood up and went out and said, we need to get you to shelter, you need to get to shelter. And one of the things that we've acknowledged on the Second Light Board, and just obviously, and I think the sheriff, and I know that Chief Sullivan has said this in meetings too, is that when it's the police officer in a police department pulling up and asking you to go to the shelter, there's a lot of people that are unhoused that are not going to engage that conversation. So as a community, we're talking about, hey, what is it that we can do outside of a law enforcement presence to engage the population that are homeless and try to get them to engage services at Second Light? I would also say we have several co-responder models. So we have 5 ICT teams. Their ICT 1 is a police officer, a social worker, and a paramedic. We have 4 more of those that are just the police officer and the social worker. And we have 8 ComCare mobile mental health teams. And they're all having conversations and collaborating on how do we best serve the population. So it's not a law enforcement approach that's getting them to go over to Second Light, but it's a community approach and mostly a social worker approach.
Okay, so it is like a social worker approach, like, and like the resources they are using from the police department. Okay, that makes sense. I was also wondering, sorry about a part 2 to this question. I've noticed like some of these like organizations that are involved within Second Light, they require that residents do community service. Would that be something that would happen within this facility?
Yeah, it's not to my knowledge there's any requirements of community service. This is a very low barrier shelter.
Okay.
So there's no prerequisite that you do work or do anything like that. Now, I will tell you, there's over 30 providers that are going to come under contract to do work there, a lot of nonprofit organizations, and there will be vocational opportunities and trying to engage individuals. There'll be mental health, behavioral health. There will be all types of different providers there. And one of those is going to be vocational, but there are no requirements. If you need shelter, you can go to Second Light, whether you're participating in vocational programming or not.
Thank you for your time.
Great question.
All right. Good conversation. We do need to wrap it up. Some closing comments?
Okay. Well, can I just say thank you, first and foremost, to you all for choosing to spend 2 hours with us. This, again, was an invitation to listen, to engage. We also have these opportunities at each of our respective bodies, whether it's City Council, County Commission, or School Board. I encourage you to always engage with us. We are all accessible. All of us answer our emails, or we engage in person, and we're out in our community. So I just want to say thank you for choosing to spend some time with us today. But I really want to say thank you to the staff, because they've had long days today and they did not have to be here. And it was because of us electeds asking for this that you've had an even lengthier day. So thank you to the city, to the county, and USD 259 staff for helping with this town hall. I am so grateful that I get to work with really amazing people that I call my friends. And I hope that you can see and you can hear it, that we all care about the city of Wichita and Sedgwick County, and we want what's best for our county. And I think the best way to get to some positive change is by actually coming together and finding out ways where we can all agree on 1 or 2 things and move forward and get some wins. And I'm so grateful that we do have some wins. We have some wins with Second Light. We have some wins with Future Readies. And I hope that there are more wins that we can agree upon, and all 3 of our bodies, 3 separate bodies, can come together again.
I'll just extend thank you for being here. We need more communication, not less, and this is an opportunity to do exactly that. I want to thank my colleagues on the commission and obviously at the City of Wichita and the school board. Thank you for being here and engaging these conversations, and thank you for just wanting and being. One of the big challenges we have in community right now is just apathy. People don't engage local government, so you being here says a lot, and we're asking for more, not less, so thank you again. Hey, real quick, if you didn't sign up when you came in, please sign up on that email. We will send up a follow-up, just some touch points of things that we accomplished here tonight. So please sign up with your email address so we can stay in communication.
Good night, everyone. Safe travels home.